In case you missed it, your host Kayla Blakesley is at it again. What did she say this time? Tune in to find out right now. From the Windows, Doors, and More studios, breathe new life into your home. Windows, Doors, and More refinishes hardwood floors to look brand new. Call 260-422-7077. Kayla Blakesley, Fort Wayne's Morning News, 92.3 FM and 1190 AM. Depend on it.
New Haven Mayor Steve McMichael made it through the New Haven quadrant. He apparently did not get stopped by a train because he was on time to the WOWO studio this morning, and that's exactly what we are talking about. His Move That Train campaign that he's taking all the way to Washington, D.C. So, Mr. Mayor, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on this morning.
So, first things first, how was the drive over? Did you drive through the New Haven quadrant?
You know what? I drive the quadrant deliberately 3 times a day.
And?
It's actually fine. And as soon as they get the other lanes open back up on Maple Crest, I think it's actually going to flow better. Wasn't my idea, wasn't my plan, but I'm cautiously optimistic it's going to work. And we didn't come to talk about quadrant today, but I'm glad NDOT did something because that was clearly the most dangerous intersection in New Haven.
Well, we can save that topic for a different day because we also need to get to trains. Were you stopped by any trains this morning?
No, I was not. I was not stopped by any trains this morning.
Well, I wanted to get into this because, I know we joke about getting stuck behind trains in New Haven. I feel like we've stuck behind, joke about getting stuck behind the trains for years, not just in New Haven, but really all over Allen County. And anybody who drives through the downtown area, particularly through New Haven, truly knows that feeling. But you released some numbers recently here that make it sound like a whole lot more than an inconvenience. For example, the city tracked the Broadway crossing there just in July, and you found that trains were blocking it an average of 22 times a day.
That's correct.
That's insane. And then the average delay was more than 8 minutes. You had one blockage clocked in that lasted nearly an hour and 45 minutes.
That's correct.
And it kind of feels like, and I know it wasn't just overnight, but I know it appears that way to many people. It feels like overnight you've said, enough is enough. So I want you to kind of take us back. You've now launched this Move That Train effort, this webpage and all that. And again, it feels like this happened overnight. Mm-hmm. But take us back, Mayor McMichael. When did you decide, hey, it's time to do something, and how did you get that ball rolling?
Well, since day one, I've already worked on trying to solve the train issue. If you remember, particularly during COVID, when everybody was ordering Amazon and everything, the train situation really got really bad. Mm-hmm. And Norfolk Southern had staffing shortages during that time. So spent a lot of time having to identify what the real issue is, because this is a very complex situation. So the issue basically comes down to this. Federal law dictates all rail transportation. So that's kind of the premise. And if you think about this, and this is how it actually is from a legal standpoint, their tracks don't cross our roads cross their tracks. Those roads are going through Norfolk Southern property to cross there. So when you start understanding the legal premise of all of this, I had long conversations with our legal staff. They're like, well, you could spend $1 million fighting the railroads, but you're going to lose that $1 million. There was a state Supreme Court case in 2018, which was City of New Haven v. Norfolk Southern, which actually ruled that states and locals cannot have any say in rail operations due to the interstate nature of rail and the importance of rail. 2023, that was followed up by CSX versus Ohio at the federal Supreme Court. So that's the basis of all this. States, locals, the governor, myself, the state reps, we cannot really do anything to make them move the train. We can't issue tickets. So we got to take up a different fight. Well, we have a bit of a different layout in New Haven from the way the city was actually physically laid out. There's a 190-foot right-of-way in downtown New Haven that Norfolk Southern owns. There used to be 2 different railroads that established back in the 1850s, the Nickel Plate and the Wabash. So, for example, if you're at Rich's Cafe, one of the great restaurants in downtown New Haven, you step off the step and you step on the gravel, you are on railroad property at that time. And to the north side also, if you go to Yeoman's Auto Service, and you'll see some concrete and then you'll see gravel there. All that gravel is Norfolk Southern. So to build an overpass, it would need to be 22 foot 8 inches above the rail, not above the road, road because the rail actually is crowned
Sure.
there. It's about 8 foot higher than the actual road back by there. So you need a bridge 190 foot long, 22 foot 8 inches, no more than 3% grade for ADA, which means you would have to have approximately 1,900 feet for a bridge, which would go almost to Schnelker Park, require Lincoln Highway to be raised, and would go north of Main Street. So basically, you'd have to tear down downtown in order to do an overpass. Underpass is the same thing. You still need to have that whole area opened up for Norfolk Southern, that 190 foot. We've done feasibility studies. We've had engineers look at all these crossings. None of them work for an overpass or an underpass. So I want to get that kind of out of the way. And people say, what about Garrett? Well, Garrett doesn't have.
I hear that all the time.
Garrett doesn't have their busiest Norfolk Southern rail yard. That's just a crossing. That's just a passing on the CSX line. It's a completely different situation. And their underpass isn't in the middle of their downtown. It's out on a state highway. So those older people like me, they remember that Broadway used to be US 24. So we found studies that NDOT did back in the 80s, and they ruled out also that it could be done. So this is something that would have been done a long time ago if it could have been done. So we've got federal law stating that we can't do anything to interfere with rail operations. We have a geography or layout of the city that says that we can't do a downtown overpass or underpass. So we got that. So you figure all that out, right? And you start going, okay, if Congress is the only one that can do something about this, or the federal government, then I need to start lobbying Congress to get something done.
When did you start doing that?
2023 is really when that effort really started. So I got hooked up with National League of Cities. I've been able to present at rail roundtables nationally. We hosted Indiana's first ever statewide rail summit back in 2024. We've done a couple community gatherings on rail to talk about all this over the last several years. So this isn't something that just happened. Myself and a couple other mayors have worked on a national level. We go visit Congress. It started out, frankly, as an education piece to let Congress know that I'd go talk to them. They're like, well, why don't you fix it? And I'd have to explain the court rulings that only Congress can do something about it. So a lot of groundwork had to be laid to get to this point. Unfortunately, the tragedy that happened in East Palestine in 2023 really is something that has gotten this moving as well. The Railway Safety Act was actually introduced by then Senator J.D. Vance. It was Senate Bill 578. It didn't gain a ton of traction back in 2023, but through efforts of Senator Vance, or Vice President Vance now, and National League of Cities, and some of the other mayors that I work with on a national level, we've been able to elevate that to the point that it's now embedded into the Build America 250 Act, which is the surface transportation bill every 5 years is reauthorized. So now all that groundwork has been able to be laid so that now that we can reach out to our friends in Congress, Senator Banks, Senator Young, Congressman Stutzman, and also Representative Yackham and Representative Shreve, because they both sit on the Transportation Infrastructure Committee. So this has been a long time coming. There's a lot of pieces. There's a lot of groundwork. You don't build a house overnight. You got to have that solid foundation, and that solid foundation is placed. Here's the thing that concerns me, and this is why I'm asking for people's help. Because when I go talk to Senator Banks or Senator Young or Congressman Stutzman or Congressman from Mississippi or Oklahoma or Missouri, I'm one person.
Right.
What I need the people all across WOWO land to go to movethetrain.com, sign that petition, send that letter to Congress, let them know that you support Senator Banks, you support Senator Young, you support Representative Stutzman in this effort. Because as Representative Stutzman said on Friday, there are people that don't want this to pass. The rail industry, there's a lot of logistics industry that do not want this to be included in the bill because they think it's going to be a hindrance to their operations. So let's talk about rail for a second. Let's talk about how important rail is to each of us, right? Every train, on average, is the equivalent of 400 semis. We have a shortage of CDL drivers right now, right? We have all kinds of problems with people shouldn't be driving trucks that are driving trucks. So we're dependent upon this for that reason. The most economical and efficient and environmentally friendly way of delivering goods is by train. It's the cheapest way. It's the cleanest way. We need trains. I'm not anti-rail. What I stand for is Wall Street is important, but America's main streets are equally as important. And somehow, along the line, we've been put in a place where we're second to Wall Street. That shouldn't be that way
Amen.
in America. So myself and a couple others, we're standing up for Main Street Americas. Reportedly, there's about 3,100 communities across the nation, and there's dozens in Indiana that are impacted equally or more than the city of New Haven is. There's many cities like Birmingham, Alabama, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, where there's actual handoffs in between different railroads. So this is a complex problem that doesn't have any simple.
Yeah, it's way more nuanced than I think the average person probably, just build an overpass. It'll be A-okay. No problem to worry about there. If you could wave a magic wand with Congress and what you're striving for and working for there, what would a win or what would success look like for you?
This is a meaningful first step. This does not completely solve all the problems. What this does, it gets Congress to say, we're going to hold the railroads accountable. And this bill actually would have a reporting mechanism in place. Right now, if there's blue signs at every rail crossing with a number on it, if that wasn't reported and didn't last 30 minutes or more, it never happened. And the FRA doesn't do anything.
No kidding.
The FRA doesn't do anything with that data. This bill will force them to actually evaluate that data and come up with solutions for the areas that are most impacted. So there's a lot there. But again, here's the thing. I'm really concerned that this is our once every maybe even time and generation to actually get Congress to do something about it to fix this problem. If this slips away from us, we lost our chance to get Congress involved.
Well, that's the other piece then I wanted to ask you. What's the timeline? How much immediacy do we have here to go to movethetrain.com, sign that petition, and make some noise and get loud about it? What's a realistic timeline here?
Well, the federal fiscal year ends September 30th. They're hoping to have a surface transportation bill passed by September 30th.
So now, yesterday.
It's on, and I'll be back in D.C. again on the Hill talking about this in mid-September. I'm going to print all these off also, and I'm going to hand-deliver them to Senator Banks and Senator Young. And again, I want to be very clear. Senator Banks, Senator Young, Congressman Stutzman, they're our friends. They're not our enemies. But we need to stand up and say, Senator, Congressman, we got your back because we know that the rail industry is going to have lobbyists in your office trying to get you to vote against this. So the people of Northeast Indiana matter. I received an email last week from a lady in Butler. Butler, I think, arguably has a worse situation than New Haven does. They've got Norfolk Southern and CSX, and often there's a Norfolk Southern train and a CSX train stop, and you can't get anywhere. So it's kind of interesting, too, and I know we're going on a long time here, but we've been collecting data. One of the things that we did was we installed this TrainFo system. We were the first community in the United States, one of the top first 20 in the world to do this. So we've been collecting data. Part of this is message boards that you see that estimate the amount of time a train is going to be, and also...
Which I think is genius. I don't know why we don't do this at every rail crossing, by the way.
Well... Again, we had to do something, right? So if we can't build a bridge, we can't make the trains move. What we can do is at least put power in people's hands so that they can do that. So here's some data. So this isn't stuff Steve made up. This is data. So we started monitoring the Broadway tracks, the South tracks, April 10th, 2024. So through yesterday, there were 17,782 trains that passed through there. Okay, 17,782. The average duration, 5.77 minutes. Not too bad, right? Five minutes. It seems like a half an hour. Okay.
Your house is on fire, or you're having a heart attack, and an emergency vehicle can't get to you. Then over 5 minutes seems like a very long time, Steve.
Well, actually, TrainFo also is in the dispatch center, and if there's a train there, they reroute it. So nobody's house is going to burn down. Nobody's not going to get an ambulance because of a train. We've already taken care of all that. And we share that information with East Allen County Schools also, or their bus dispatch center. So I want to put that to rest. We've worked around that. We know if there's an issue with a train, and we just dispatch around it. It might take an extra minute or two, but they're not going to sit there and wait. I think it's really important to know, too, that, and this is unacceptable. So the longest blockage was 341.73 minutes, 5.7 hours.
Wow.
5.7 hours. But we can dig down a little bit deeper here, too. The busiest time of day on that track is right around 8 a.m. So when everybody's trying to go to work.
Of course, yeah.
So, of course, I've had this conversation with Norfolk Southern. Can you adjust your schedule? Can you make it so that this isn't such a problem? But the busiest time of the day is right around 8 o'clock. So when people say that, it's always blocked, I get it. If you're always driving through there at 8 o'clock, it is always blocked to you. But the fact of the matter is 87% of the time, over the time we've monitored over 2 years, that track is open. And over 90% of the time, it's cleared within 9 minutes. So it's a problem, but it's also one of those things that it's not always blocked.
Yeah.
My office is right there. I look over it, and it's certainly open far more than it's closed.
Well,
Doesn't
Steve,
mean it's not a problem.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm going to have to because we're coming up to the bottom of the hour break. But I want to emphasize one more time, movethetrain.com. That's the website you need everyone to go to in full force. What will land? Get there and basically sign this petition that you are in favor of getting this legislation through.
Yeah, please stand with me.
Yeah.
I can't do this by myself anymore. I've done everything that I can alone. I need everybody in Northeast Indiana to stand with me. It doesn't matter if you live in Butler, New Haven, if you live out in Arcola. Trains affect us all over the place.
Well, I'm standing right there with you, Steve. MoveTheTrain.com. During the next break, I'll be signing that right now this morning for you. MoveTheTrain.com. Will land. Like Steve said, he cannot do this alone. If you're just as aggravated by the trains, MoveTheTrain.com. Hey, it's KB. As a show of appreciation for listening, use my promo code WOWO for deep discounts on all kinds of products at MyPillow.com. That's promo code WOWO.
Podcasts by Federated Media.